And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. We're talking to Brad Velarde. Brad is a partner in the Greater Utica magazine, and it's filled with history, and it is filled with present-day stuff as well. The July issue that I was looking at, John T. Buckley pool, that was on York Street in West Utica. We had two great pools. We had that one, and then we had Addison Miller.
Right.
Am I getting them screwed up? We had Addison Miller pool, and we had Buckley pool.
Yeah, sure.
And great pools in the summer, and yours truly went to those many times. Did that generate much reaction?
Yeah, a lot of reaction, actually. We had a woman call us that was a descendant of John T. Buckley, and she also had some relatives that were living, I believe, in Ireland or England that were visiting the area, and she couldn't wait to show off to them that their ancestor had a story in the magazine. So it was that was a thrill. So we have gotten quite a bit of reaction. As you know, it was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was a thrill to do that story.
Well, you know, a lot of people, you know, you talk to modern day people, and you wrote that article on.
Yeah.
And you talk to young people today, and they've got cars and mobility, and they can get wherever they want to go. But boy, I tell you, back when these pools were so popular, you couldn't get around.
Right.
And so if you wanted to get some pool time in, and how many people had private pools, you know? So this is where you went. The James Schoolcraft Sherman was another person that you've featured in the magazine. I've always felt that. What do you think, Brad? I've always felt like we haven't given his due. Vice President of the United States, Utica, New York, Genesee Street. I've always felt we didn't give him his proper due.
Right. You're absolutely right. And you know, I don't know if a lot of that has to do with the fact that we look at a lot of these different, you know, politicians and things differently than we used to look at them, say, 100 years ago or over 100 years ago when he was in office. But it really is something that I think we need to do a better job of. And you touched on it again in the last segment. His house no longer being around, I think, is a huge part of that. You know, I don't know that it's on the fault of the people of the Mohawk Valley for not celebrating him enough. It's just that unless you go digging through these historical resources, it's hard to learn about things like that.
Must be tough when you've got a family operation for a magazine that, you know, a nice glossy, well done
Thank you.
Magazine. Must be tough just doing it in the family. I mean, a lot of work goes into this kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah, a lot of work goes into it. You know, you have to go out and sell the advertisement, you have to write stories, you have to research, graphic design, all these different things. But to be honest with you, the amount of work doesn't really ever cross my mind very much. I feel so blessed to be doing this. There's not a day that goes by that I don't thank God for being able to do what I do every day, because you know, it's just something that I love. It's something I'm passionate about, and you know, I just know how many people would love to have that opportunity. So I'm thankful for that.
On the list, and I don't expect you to give me the top one, but what's among the best received stories that you've done for Greater Utica magazine?
I would say I can give you a top three off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I would say we did one on the Clinton Arena back in, I think it was January of 18, and that generated a huge response from the people. Obviously, hockey in the Mohawk Valley is enormous. That was a big one. My father did one on the Soldiers and Sailors Monument on Oneida Square about a year and a half ago, and that was a big one. And then very recently, I did one on this gentleman named Bob Wilson from Rome. He was a former slave who was forced to fight for the Confederate Army, and he fled the Confederate Army. He was captured, imprisoned, and then a colonel from Utica, Rufus Daggett, I believe was his name, came to the plantation that Bob Wilson was living on and freed him. And then Bob Wilson fought for the Union Army after that, and then he traveled up and ended up living in Rome, became a business owner, and started his own drum corps. So when I did the story, we had huge reaction, but the best part about the story was that when I went to his grave site in Rome Cemetery, I discovered that he didn't have a stone. There was absolutely nothing, no evidence of him ever living. And so our good friend Joe Bottini said, why don't we start a GoFundMe page and see if we can get a memorial for this guy. And so I launched it, we announced it in the magazine, and within a month we raised over $1,500. The incredible people of the Mohawk Valley that stepped up and donated that money, and now next spring we're going to be putting a memorial for Bob Wilson on his grave. So we're so excited about that.
Yeah, why don't you come back here when it gets a little bit closer? We'll talk about
I would love
that.
to.
Yeah. One of the articles that I enjoyed a lot, and my wife did too, because we're both of the same era, was the article that you did on the Screaming Eagles.
Yeah.
Did that get much reaction?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because that one slipped my mind. My father actually did that article, and incredible reaction. The former Screaming Eagles that reached out to us, relatives, and all the people in the community that just loved seeing this team march every year. They actually were in 2 consecutive Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about national history? That's about as big as it gets. And yes, enormous reaction.
Joe Bird was the head of that, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
And boy, I tell you what, if you saw the Screaming Eagles marching down Genesee Street in the Utica Parade, that was a sight to behold.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Right, absolutely.
Hey, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and don't forget, come in and we'll talk about that memorial that you're going to put up in Rome.
And all the credit goes to the people of the Mohawk Valley for taking part in that. We thank them all very much.
Continued success.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for us this week, but we'll be back next week. We'll do it all again. cnyhomepage.com. It's got a lot of good stuff. You can check it out. And until next time, take care of yourself, everybody.